Well, good morning, gas buddies. Everyone out there, hope you're staying safe and healthy inside. Seems like we're entering our 200th day of shelter-in-place orders, though it's been, about a month or month and a half, depending on what state you're in. So good morning to all of you. Happy Tuesday. It seems like it should be Friday today. We have another gas price update for all of our fans out there to share this morning. Obviously, over the weekend, a lot of people on social media have heard about this production cut, this OPEC production cut deal. President Trump, of course, tweeted about it and how it may be good. So we're going to dive in the details here before you talk about it politically. Keep in mind that we're all here for the same reason. We all like low gas prices. We'd like them to stick around. So we'll kick it off there with what happened this weekend. OPEC, which is the oil producing and exporting countries, I'm sure most of you know that, the cartel that controls about a third of all oil production across the globe, met via webinar this weekend. I don't know if it was a Zoom meeting. I'm sure you've heard about Zoom's problems. But Russia was also invited, and for those of you that know, oil prices are obviously very low, which is why gas prices have declined. So OPEC obviously wants to see oil prices go up, and so they met to discuss an oil production cut. Obviously, supply is greatly exceeding demand in recent days. Oil prices down to about $22. That's actually lower than where we were a week ago. And so over the weekend, after a long session of meetings, OPEC did agree to a production cut. There's been talk that it could be actually upwards of 20 million barrels. We've heard 10 million barrels. The exact figure doesn't necessarily matter so much, but what OPEC is trying to do is obviously produce less oil to boost the price of oil. But it didn't work, at least so far. Oil prices have actually gone down yesterday and today. We're at about $21.50 a barrel. What they're really trying to do is better match supply and demand, and that would help U.S. producers as well. There's a huge issue, regardless of what political side you may be on, and that is if oil prices go too low, it's actually going to hurt the U.S. amongst the most because we're the world's largest oil producer. So this OPEC deal will basically, or the attempt was to shore up the price of oil enough that oil producers will be able to survive through this tremendous collapse in demand. And so moving forward, starting May 1st, OPEC agreed to cut oil production amongst its members. But of course, what is it, April 14 today? And so that means another 2 or so weeks that OPEC is going to continue producing at current volumes, which is going to contribute to a continued glut of supply. So all in all, the OPEC agreement isn't going to really have an effect so much on gas prices, in fact at all. And the reason for that is that gas stations are sitting on pretty significant margins. Part of the reason why I think they're doing that is because of the incredible uncertainty that they're facing. Obviously, 50 to 70% less demand for gasoline means less money coming into their stations, so they may be keeping prices higher. So even if oil prices did go up because of this production deal, you wouldn't be paying more. Stations would basically be forced to kind of eat the higher price because they haven't delivered all the savings onto you yet. And so I don't expect the OPEC agreement to really have any discernible impact for you on gas prices. They are not going to shoot up overnight. Gas prices are not going up because of this production cut. Ultimately, this is a better balancing, and you may see some of those 99-cent prices disappear in the coming days. I will say that those are at risk, but the rest of us, by and large, every state should continue to experience lower prices over the next few weeks. Now, when demand does start to pick up, OPEC has said that this production cut is going to go for at least 2 months and perhaps into 2021. That's where we'll have to watch for more details on how long this goes. But essentially, you don't have to really worry about higher gas prices until people start returning to work. That's when demand will start going up and prices will likely start going up too. So the second part of this discussion here this morning is some of the really interesting data that we have. If you use our pay card, looking at some of the data that we have from that card can give us some insight into what's going on and how bad the problem is across the country. We put some of this data together. In March, the amount of gallons that you pumped with GasBuddy, we're down 20% year on year. That's pretty dramatic. And keep in mind that most of that demand destruction, most of the lower demand came later in the month, towards the end of March. On average, people paid $28 in the first quarter for the fill-up. So January, February, March, the average fill-up was $28. And 28% of you still were paying too much for gas. Now, obviously, we're the GasBuddy app. We show you the lowest prices. But how we calculate that is looking at the average price in a zip code, and still 28% of you spent more than you had to. So keep firing up that GasBuddy app. Find those low prices. The top states that overpaid were Ohio, Arizona, and North Carolina. So if you're in Ohio, Arizona, or North Carolina, spend a few moments. Just remember to shop around when you're filling up. So lastly, touching something that we continue to get questions about, the price of diesel fuel, why it hasn't come down like gas has, gasoline demand. And diesel has not seen the same issues. In fact, truckers are out there delivering more goods and they're filling up with diesel. So diesel has not seen a drop in demand, and thus the price of diesel has not dropped as fast or as much as gasoline, and it probably won't go down as much. So unfortunately, if you are filling up with diesel, prices, they're coming down, but they won't go as low as gasoline. So there you have it. If you have any questions, leave some comments for us. We'll try to get to them in future videos. But for now, that's all we have for Tuesday. Make sure to stay safe and to tell your friends that thankfully, gas prices are not going up because of the OPEC deal. One other thing too is if you're struggling to pay for gas or you're struggling without a job, GasBuddy does have a pay card, which helps you save up to 25 cents a gallon. You can visit pay.gasbuddy.com for some of that more information. But otherwise, stay healthy. Have a great Tuesday, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon.